Hello, the Football Uncensored podcast with me, Joe Mealing, asking questions to you, John. Sorry, got that wrong again. How's it going? How are you?
Yeah, it's not as bad as when we was at the casino and he said the Grosvenor, and then he went like that, and then he got all defensive and folded his arms.
Grosvenor
Casino. I said, "Don, we're just in with Arrington Gardens. Simple."
Yeah.
the Millennium, the Gloucester Millennium, the Millennium Gloucester Casino cost the thing down. Anyway, yeah, I'm all right, mate. Yeah,
sweet.
Trials and tribulations of a cab driver. Nothing we can't handle over the last few days. Yeah.
Now, did you manage to get any fuel?
Yeah, I've done last week. I don't know what I filled up. I managed to fill up after queuing for an hour and 3/4, and a few numbskulls in front of me doing their shopping and filling cans and all that. Yeah, so I put one out just as a piss take. There's someone done a thing of a woman with filling a what do you call it? A carrier bag, plastic carrier bag up with petrol.
No way.
Yeah. I'll retweeted it.
Oh my God.
Then she tied it up, and then she went to her boot and got another plastic bag and put that in and put another knot in it up.
Jesus Christ, like the end of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. God, that's...
Yeah, but so we're hanging in. I turned a lot of work down because as I explained to the people, it's the first time in 19 years. I've never turned a job down in 19 years. I don't care if it's 360 or 36 quid or anywhere in between. Do you know what I mean? And where it's going. But I just said, like, it's too far for me to come back empty.
Yeah.
And you ain't going to get a job coming back from East Dulwich, Gypsy Hill and Croydon. You just ain't going to get a job. You know what I mean? And just like you're just burning diesel. And I just said, I can't keep queuing up hour and a half to get some squirt. You know what I mean?
No. Time's money.
I just said, all right, we understand. Yeah, so that was good of them. But...
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, well, that's good, mate. Glad you had a good couple of weeks. Going on to the football then. Sort of some relatively standard results, really. I mean, I think we've there's been a few freak results at the beginning of the season, but it seems like the season's bedding down into... the league table's bedding down into sort of normal services resumed. The big boys are at the top again. Yeah. First game I wanted to bring your attention to was Mr. Potter and Brighton and Hove Albion versus Arsenal, 0-0.
Yeah.
Quite an interesting game for me, because to me it felt like two teams that didn't want to lose, but they felt like two equals. And Arsenal were happy to get a draw away at Brighton, and to keep that scoreboard ticking over, which is a real departure from Arsenal of old, where they'd have expected to have won that game, and Brighton would have expected to lose the game. How times have changed. What was your assessment of the game?
Yes, well, I suppose. Well, you're right. Hence the draw. I mean, his stock's obviously rising. I just thought to myself, what I've always thought, really, a club with no ambition, a manager with no ambition. I think it's the biggest crime, one of the biggest crimes in football. When he said when he was linked to a couple of jobs, he said he was going to wait for a top 4 job. So his degree or PhD, whatever it is in emotional intelligence, is obviously working well. Or whatever the degree is, something to do with people's mental state. It's obviously working well behind the scenes, and he seems to have coordinated things well, and a lot of good staff around him. But in all honesty, the bottom line is, it's like when you're taking your qualifications, or I was, you can't beat working with good players, and I think he's added good recruitment. And added some good players to his existing staff, and he's got that foundation there, which I think, like, you can't. I'm struggling with an expression: money can't buy it. I mean, but at the end of the day, they'll get their rewards now. Something that clubs I was at was found wanting. When you think of I'm thinking particularly the centre backs. Excuse me, and they're the foundation, really, for any decent side. That spine, and I think he's got good, resilient, honest professionals with decent ability. So it's a fantastic time to be there, and it's a fantastic equation. And it's a case of really trying to keep that going. Conversely, you've got the Arsenal thing where he threw out the veiled message of it's been the best 2 weeks. This is Arteta, the best 2 weeks of my career, because he got the support that he needed behind the scenes, which is priceless, really.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going through a tough time. It would have been nice to have experienced something like that myself, but it wasn't to be. The bounce back results since, and then going to Brighton, and this is what you have to bear in mind. I thought Arsenal had the better clear-cut chances. I mean, you're looking at a couple of headers in the box. Brighton, the big lump, 6'7", who plays on the left-hand side of defence, and I think one of the centre backs had another added opportunity. But when you look at a couple of breaks that Arsenal had, and then it's just the decision making really born of lack of experience. I think the Smith Rowe, where he could have sort of bent it in behind a retreating defender for Saka, maybe to have a tap in. He probably made the wrong decision now, but that's going to come with, in inverted commas, the process as a consequence of going, sort of homegrown and recruiting younger players.
Yeah, inexperience.
Yeah, that inexperience. So probably that it was a justified outcome.
There's a lot of talk. This is probably a little bit of a far out connection I'm making here, but a lot of talk about the latest James Bond film and who's going to replace Daniel Craig. But similarly, there's not questions, but I think it's something interesting to discuss given Mr. Potter's what's his first name?
Graham.
Graham. Keep calling Mr. Potter.
He'll end up there. He'll end up in North London, I think.
Well, I was going to say,
Chelsea wouldn't be the gig for him. Liverpool wouldn't be the gig for him. City or United wouldn't be the gig for him. I see him in terms of, and he should basically Arsenal. He could grab it with both hands, bite him off at the elbow, because Arsenal they've got no track record really for being shallow and cynical and sacking players for no reason. Beg your pardon, managers for no reason at all. Spurs might be a different kettle of fish, but I could see him ending up at either of the North London clubs, if I'm honest.
What about England? Is he the best English manager we've got?
Well, I suppose statistically at the moment he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's in terms of what, are they fifth or sixth?
I know there's not many in the league, but it's a handful, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, it's never been a better time to be a player, to be a manager, to be an English manager. If you can make that sort of progress up the Premier League, it's sort of an unwritten rule. The only way you're going to end up in the Premier League is if you get a team promoted into the Premier League. But if you've got a thing like he did, come from abroad, and then via Swansea or somewhere like that. There's never been a better time.
No.
Yeah, to make a name for yourself. It depends if he's tactically astute, tactically aware enough, tactically articulate enough. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose he's already got more experience in the Premier League than Gareth Southgate. And
yes, fair comment. Yeah. So that would be a fair comment. Yeah.
All right.
Gareth, really, well, I could see him sort of making a move sideways or upwards within the FA. I'll be quite surprised unless it's someone's going to go, the public relations gentleman in a waistcoat route, PR, image, etc., which some of the game seems to be about these days, and he gets a job as a consequence of that. I mean, have a look at it. The last, what is it now? I think it's six qualifications. So what would that cover? Maybe even 7. That would back to when I'm thinking maybe 16 years ago, 2004 World Cup, 2006 Euros. Look at our group. It's a buy. It's another buy.
Yeah, that's why I'm not even mentioning England, because it's just Andorra. It's just a waste of time.
Andorra, isn't it? Yeah.
They're going on about the squad. Who gives a shit? I don't know about you. It doesn't matter who you pick. We're going to beat
doesn't
Andorra.
really. I mean, by rights, what he should, I think he has done with a couple of the call-ups. Very briefly, use it as an opportunity to experiment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and possibly given Kane's in a pretty poor vein of form, try and, like I say, look at other options. But obviously, Calvert-Lewin's injured, but you got to have. We can't just rely on one player all the time.
The world's going on around him.
Yeah.
Again, we should give ourselves a pat on the back. Like we said that situation is only going to fester. It's either got to be a clean break. It needed to be a clean break, or it needed to be a reinvention of his career there on new terms to suit both parties and keep everybody happy. He just doesn't look happy at the moment. He just doesn't look like he's playing with a smile on his face. He looks like he's got the weight and the worries of the world on his shoulders, and these things are not bouncing for him. I mean, over the last few seasons, that chance that he, I think maybe someone got under him. I think I made the tackle, or that the ball was sort of bobbling away from him, and think it would have sat up for him to volley it or lob it over the keeper. That the clear cut chance he had where he was through 1-on-1 almost, with a recovering defender coming in. On his left shoulder, you know what I mean? The ball just didn't sit up for him. So you just think yourself, it just about sums it all up, what's going on at the moment.
You almost need a couple of games off just to get his head right, because it seems to be he's not mentally correct at the moment. Doesn't seem to me anyway.
Well, the other thing that people need to take into account is he ain't had a break for 10 years.
No, exactly.
Even when he was going out on loan here and ever, I said to his dad, a little holiday here, flying out to the Bahamas or whatever with his family. I mean, little things like that. I said, yeah, that's all well and good. I said, but I'm talking about where he's got to sort of take stock, because he was, I don't know, it was England under 21s, and then he got catapulted straight into the full England. So I say went from a tournament with England under whatever it was, under 19s. I'm going way back when. Under 21s, then he becomes like a first team mainstay at Spurs. And then England, and then Spurs, then England, then Spurs, then you know what I mean? And he's
relentless. Break.
He hasn't had one.
And he looked leggy in the Euros to me.
Yeah,
well, we spoke about it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, he did, 100%. He ain't got blistering pace, but I mean, it's an explosion of the mind. It's not always an explosion physically. It's just poof, you know what I mean, making poof poof these decisions. And it's like, you see a couple of the goals over the weekend. It's just like a natural reaction, and bury it in the back of the net, which he's one of the world's best at.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to the Liverpool-Man City game, because I assume that's what you're talking about, and specifically Salah, who they're talking about as being better than Messi and Ronaldo now. But we'll come on to that. But before that, I want to talk about not briefly, but quick word on your ex-team, Chelsea. Stopped the rot against Southampton. Thought Southampton were unlucky to get a man sent off. James Watt thought that was a harsh decision, and possibly changed the game. But it did change the game. How Chelsea would have got on if they hadn't been sent off, if he hadn't been sent off, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, 1-3-1. Obviously coming off the back of 2 defeats and without scoring, back on track, Mr. Tuchel.
Yeah, he done him a favour, really. Ward-Prowse done him a favour. I mean, if you're going to have a nibble at someone, just sort of leave your mark on them. That would be the place to do it, on the edge of their D. Having said that, he's going nowhere. So why make such a rash challenge, and then endanger an opponent?
Which is that the high press, though? Sorry to interrupt, but is that?
Yeah.
That's what it's his job, isn't it?
Yeah,
to win the ball back there.
Yeah, well, if you can pinch it, but he was never going to get there, was he?
No.
And I'll be honest, I don't even think he made a great deal of contact, but I just think it was the what might have been, and maybe the Chelsea players' reaction.
Yeah.
Because he could have broke his leg low down or his ankle. You know what I mean? If you look at where he made contact, even though it was ever so slight. It done Chelsea a favour, but sometimes these are the things you need.
Yeah.
If you're gonna win the league, and if things are going to go your way. I mean, off the back of, I needed to stop the rot. I think there was a couple of games where they hadn't scored.
Yeah.
They'd been beaten twice. and then, you know, obviously they get the win against Southampton. It was pretty emphatic. I mean, I was maybe a bit disparaging. I sent Palamine a message, Adrian Durham, and he was at the game, and I said I fancy benchmark performance from Chelsea today, and I said I think it'd be 3 or 4-0, and it turned out 3-1. But I think they were helped by the fact that he got sent off all press, because they looked like they were well worth a point. Very well organised, very well organised. Yeah.
And just a quick word on
one of the goals. I've got to say, just very quickly, if I was gonna highlight someone for a kid to look at his defending's been exemplary since the day he set foot in the Premier League and inside Stamford Bridge, that would be, even though he's lost a yard, Azpilicueta, and he's played everywhere across the back five.
Yeah.
That first time thing for the side foot was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Bit of football.
Yeah.
Fantastic bit of football. It really was. And the little scoop. Am I jumping the gun here? Yeah, I think I am. There was one of the goals in the Premier League. It was what I used to call it Jimmy the Scoop. There was one goal in the Premier League over the weekend where he's just lifted it over the top of someone and put it in the back of the net. Yeah, I forgot what game it is though. It might come to me.
Tillemans did something, although he didn't actually lift it over someone's head, but it was a little scoop. It was a really good through ball.
Yeah,
broke the midfield, and that's when Leicester went on to score. I think it was Vardy's goal. But
they're top anyway. They're top. The boys, the Blues are they're top.
Yeah.
So because that was
his being. Go on, sorry.
No, go on, mate. No, go on. I was just saying that was his thing when we spoke last week. That was his tip for the league. So he's done a little bit better than mine, which is United. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come on to United.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a specific question about that actually. But
okay.
But Loftus-Cheek, Tuchel seems to be playing. He played in midweek. I know it's a second string side against Juventus, but played against Southampton. I thought he played really well, and it's one of them players that, from a physique perspective and size and attributes, he's got the lot to me, Loftus-Cheek, but obviously something was missing mentally because he didn't do very well at Fulham, and even Parker didn't trust him to start. But any thoughts and comments on Loftus-Cheek and whether or not he can make it at Chelsea?
When he first burst on the scene, I said he'd probably be a Chelsea and England regular, and never panned out like that. So I think you're going to be nearer the truth than me. There's obviously something mental there. Then he had a really bad injury, which I had myself, which snapped Achilles, and he came back from that. If I'm honest, I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking there's nothing he hasn't got. So really, I think that, you know, it's not, like I said, it's not bionuclear physics on Tuchel's part, you know what I mean, or football. There's nothing he hasn't got in terms of attributes, Loftus-Cheek, and he could have been, or he could still be anything he wants to be. I think he's underachieved throughout his career. That'd be my. I would have took him aside a lot sooner, a lot sooner. And she's sort of talking to me, my wife, about watching these different documentaries while I'm out at work. She see this thing, and it went on about. And then she saw that she was having a little workout. She see this thing up the gym, Sunday brunch. So she put the headphones in. It was very quickly Peter Schmeichel's second autobiography, and he got a call from. He was saying in the interview, Sunday kitchen or Sunday brunch, whatever the fuck it's. Anyway, he went like this. He got the call. He went like that. Yes, because he got the call and he got the approval of Ferguson, right? Which I don't quite get for a grown man over the age of 14. But she said that they asked him about Ferguson's attributes. So I said, it's funny how it's worked both ways, you know, because I said it's no different to what I tried to do. So at the end of the day, what's the big deal? Yeah. It's just, to me, it's common sense. He said about how he took a personal interest in players. He took a personal interest in their domestic situation, and he got to know the families, and then he got to know one family I got to know. There was a big punch up in the players' park, which I won't go into, but Yeah, when I was trying to guide a certain player. But anyway, then there was then she's talking about friends of family and how he remembered the names and blah blah blah. And I said, what's the big deal? I said, it's like great management and common sense. I said, it's no different to what anyone else would try to do. No different to what I try to do. So I said, so I don't get it. You know what I mean? And but it's strange how the way things have changed in terms of the role, if you want to call it that, and the differentiation between the role of a manager, the role of a coach. Whereas I remember having to juggle all these balls and trying to do more than one thing. But on it goes. With different people have got things. Tying it in with Loftus-Cheek very quickly, Joe, I'd have taken him aside a long time before as he burst on the scene. He didn't need that what he got from Jose, because he said, I think I remember Jose, if my memory serves me right, he was very critical of him publicly in the press, and said he's something along the lines of he's still got half of his game needs to be sorted out. You do that behind the scenes. You do that behind closed doors. You do that. You put your arm around him. And to, me personally, I would tell him the truth. If he ain't going to be good enough, I'd try and help him in his future life, like I did with a couple of people. If he is going to be good enough, which he always looked like he was going to be good enough, you pull him aside and say, right, these are the whys and the wherefores. These are the pitfalls. This is what I expect from you. You can be anything you want to be. It's up to you. You know, your ambition should be limitless, like it should be with any, like I always said years ago, with any football club, any player. And I've been proven right. Very not. It's not a dig, but it's you know, like it's like I said, if you show a bit of ambition, if you don't show ambition, people that started a long way behind you, they're going to leapfrog you.
Yeah,
and leave you behind in the race. Yeah. So it's the same with a player.
Yeah. And just on touching on your sort of point there around, you know, Alex Ferguson, you know, being very hands-on and knowing the crack, and obviously you juggling a million jobs when you was at Leyton Orient, and how the game seems to have evolved into being very decompartmentalized in terms of coaches now just do throw-ins, or coaches now just do you know, dead balls or whatever. Defense.
And yet when I proposed it to Barry Earn, it frightened the life out of him. Because it meant more wages.
More money, yeah.
Money's, yeah. I had to throw that in because it's all this anyway, the way it's turned out how it is. But sorry, mate, go on.
No, that's fine.
Apologies.
No, it's all no, it's interesting. But no, just I'm moving on to the Man United game now. And obviously another poor result from Man United. And a very interesting team selection from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Left Ronaldo out, left Pogba out, and you know, then brought Ronaldo on when they was 1-0 up, and they ended up, when they were actually, it was a 50-50 game. Everton scored and could have won the game. My question to you about management is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer anywhere near good enough to manage Man United? Would he, if he left Man United, would anyone else in the Premier League employ him? And if Tuchel, Klopp or Pep managed Man United's squad, would they challenge for the league, unlike Man United at this current moment in time?
What I'm going to say probably quite contradictory. I think if you need a manager, and Man United have got a manager, then I would say, I said on previous podcasts, I think he's wonderfully understated, but then almost slightly contradictory or very contradictory. He got very defensive on Saturday in his post-match interview when he said, I think I know a little bit more, and me and Cristiano, we know a little bit more than the likes of you. Yeah. And I'll make him right 100%. I've even said it in my book, it's your worst nightmare. And what they do, I mean, I'm bored with it now. They pick up something they might have heard as an invited guest to a training ground. And then what they do is they hone it and work it into a sentence when they're broadcasting on TV or on the radio. All these modern expressions and all these coaching expressions, and they start talking like a coach. But I've always said your biggest nightmare is basically a reporter is a supporter with a pen or a laptop. You know what I mean? And he's right. They do know more than what the media do. They do know, and then they go, you're going to throw that one in, what? Because I didn't play the game, and I've never played the game, and all that. Well, yeah, I would, because I've always said it's you got to feel the game. It's you feel the game. You don't play the game. You feel the game.
Yeah.
And you felt everything from. He's felt everything from Champions League final, probably all the way down to youth level. So that's the first part of the question. I do think he's right if that's the structure they want to go with. And again, they're not really renowned for sacking managers until recently. And I think that he was very cute, very smart in bowing out when he did, Ferguson. I think it showed where the Premier League was at, even though he'll beg to differ. When you talk about legacy or heritage and what was left, he starts laughing and said, "Well, we won the league that year by 11 points." And then what they've done since then, what is it now? It's their fourth manager since then. Is it Van Gaal? Jose never got the credit he deserved for winning a trophy and finishing second against all the odds, because they're still reeling and in the aftermath of the departure of the aforesaid Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah. And
then Moyes, which was I think was partly to do with his influence and knowing him. I think he's, like I said, I think he's wonderfully understated. I think he, like he come out in the paper, I think yesterday, he said, I trust the players and I trust the coaching staff around me to get the job done. It's up to him and the coaching staff to get the best out of what they've got available. Right now, with regards to the, I think the second part of the question, my own personal opinion has always been the same, unless you really notice something massively, it jumps out at you or something drastic. My thoughts are, plus it helps keep the pot boiling off the back of recent performances. I would have played both of them. I think you should always play your faces, your big names, unless there's something going on behind the scenes and someone's being a complete shithouse and taking the piss out of the rest of the squad, out of you, out of your, out of the club, out of the supporters, which is a situation I did have Little Leyton Orient, much lower down. Okay. So you can only sort of manage how you see fit at the time. If you get someone like that, then you just really and truly, the ideal situation is to get them out of the club. But when you're talking about these names, these faces, me personally, I would play them and try as best I could to get the game won. Then rest them. Don't rest them and then bring them on. There's no point. I don't get that. If you're either going to have a rest or you ain't going to have a rest, right? If you're 50-50 and you're thinking, well, really and truly, we need to save his legs for a little while, just say, give us a good hour. Then I'm going to take you off, just so you know. And you do that on the Thursday and the Friday. You keep talking to the player and make him aware. Give me everything you got for an hour. Let's get this game won as best we can. Yeah. And if you get 2-3-0 into the lead and you take them off and you still come unstuck, then I think what it does, like it did when I come through the ranks at Chelsea, it shines a light on whether people are good enough or not. Or whether they're prepared, or whether you've got goals in the side, or whether you can, whether you've got a good enough squad, whether you can defend, whether the organisation's shit, whether all of them things were, whether the club, the playing staff are fitting up, etc. You've got all these ingredients that go into winning a game of football. And then the other thing that you asked, that's why I said it's going to be slightly contradictory. I think the answer is probably yes. I think someone like Guardiola, probably Klopp, maybe even Tuchel would maybe get a little bit more out of him. But then I'm still going to stick with him. I still think there's a hell of a. I think what he's saying indirectly is, and this is my opinion, looking at it, there's a hell of a lot more to come. There's still a hell of a lot more to come. He said rightly said we got Cristiano in September, we got Sancho in August. So we're still better. And the other who's the other kid, a defender? We're still trying to bet. We're trying to bet them in.
Yeah, we're still trying to become top level players. I mean, Diaz, fucking Ruben Diaz at Man City walked straight into the team, top level player. Van Dijk.
I agree. I agree. I agree. It's no different. I mean, the only thing you should be doing is the drills that you need to do, the organisational drills that you need to do. So you're talking about, patterns of play going forward, little finishing drills, little bit of passing and movement, little grid practices, and then defensive strategy where the defender's concerned. You know what I mean? Is that should be going on at every football club. Not ones you're just trying to bed in. So slightly contradictory, I would suggest that probably the people you name maybe would get another few percent out of that.
And when you look at this, sorry to interrupt, but when you look at because you mentioned in a number of podcasts previously about the spine of a team and the importance of a spine of a team. Now, I appreciate there's a few new players in that new spine, but if you look at Man United's spine now, is there a better spine in world football than what they've currently got? When you look at De Gea in goal, Maguire, Varane, Fernandes, Pogba, Cavani, and Ronaldo. I mean,
yeah, you're struggling.
It's fucking strong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strong. You're struggling. I mean, everyone's going on. They were going on yesterday. I was laughing my socks off. You know what I mean? Some of how people were got like little trailers on the radio, self-appointed coaches, and I made an impact as a coach. You know what I mean? This certain individual is. You are what you are, but I'll tell you one thing: you're not as a coach. You've never been a coach as long as you've got a hole in your ass. You still won't be a coach if you have to wear a colostomy bag. But it's the same goes where they're talking about a certain player, Rudiger. I still think Chelsea's back players can be got at. It's down to opposition managers to find a way to tear them apart, because maybe his consistency is in his inconsistency. And they're talking about the likes of Rudiger yesterday. I don't get it. I think you're quite right.
He's the best defender in the league, isn't they? Rio Ferdinand, waxing lyrical about him. He seems. I don't think he's the full shilling, biting people's shoulders and all that in the Euros.
Yeah, let them get on with it. They're getting paid thousands for this punditry. Let them get on with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
One thing I will say is they give 10 out of 10 full marks. They stick together. Yeah. And they stick up for each other. You know what I mean? No, I'm just watching. I mean, it's Black History Month. I'm watching documentaries last night. They're going on about things. It depends how deep you want to go. If so, as Dark as Sal had a conversation with me, I think I could provide a good counter argument but the bottom line is I think credit where it's due. Yeah, if they stand up, they stand up for themselves. Ultimately, they did in the 70s, and they the only ones that have been oppressed. No, I don't think so. But we're going off piece. Stick to football because it's like I put in my second book, which I'm going to finish in there. I've had to rewrite it. Then sadly undermotivated. Then different circumstances with regards to different issues, etc. There's two things you can guarantee. One thing is someone's going to say to me, you shouldn't be talking outside your remit. So make your mind up. Can footballers, ex-footballers, coaches, managers, can they converse outside of their remit involving politics and history? Which might tie in with a question we got off of one of our listeners. And the other thing is, if you do state facts, then you can be easily dismissed with the use of a couple of choice phrases that have been coined through political correctness. So that's where we're at.
I just wanted, because like I say, we have got some questions from followers, so I want to touch on those at the end. But just quickly, we wouldn't be the Football Uncensored podcast this week. It'd be very remiss of me not to ask about one of the best games of football I've seen in a long time, Liverpool Man City, 2-2. Clash of the Titans, game of two halves as well. Liverpool was slow in the first half and come out fucking real at it in the second half, and Man City managed to scrape a draw because no one got centre forward, and De Bruyne wasn't on his best form. What was your assessment of the game? And just a second question to that, because I like multiple questions, as you know, that they're saying, in inverted commas, are saying that Mo Salah is now the best player in the world over Messi and Ronaldo.
Oh, that's good.
So Yeah.
Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought I might have half a clue what I'm looking at and what I'm talking about? Remember the row between let's say the heated discussion between me and Lord Hudson. He was going on about Mane, and I said, yeah, Mo Salah. Yeah. Mo Salah is for me the best striker in the Premier League. And what, better than Harry Kane? I said, well, make your mind up. You're talking about Mane. I said and I said Mo Salah. Now they're talking about him in glowing terms. And comparing him with the likes of Messi and Ronaldo. Yeah. Sad, isn't it? The fact that Chelsea had him and Lukaku, and then they've gone all around the houses and bought Lukaku back.
And De Bruyne.
And Salah and De Bruyne at City, yeah. Yeah. I fully concur with the best coach, or one of the best three coaches in the world, supposedly. I thought it was a fantastic game of football. I thought what they did second half compared to first half, Liverpool off, they closed plugged the gaps. I thought the areas, when you look at when the ball was rebounded on them, the areas which before now they're renowned for actually being quite compact, particularly with the likes of Henderson on the firm, bossing things and bringing people up behind him, and Van Dijk bossing people in front of him and getting them up. So as a team, as three units, they're quite compact, and which I thought on occasions against City they weren't, and then they managed to basically get that right. And like you said, it was a fantastic game of football. Just like some of the finishing, the passing, the movement, everything at pace. Not just the athleticism and the physical side of it, just the pace of the speed of thought. I thought it was a fantastic game, fantastic advert for the Premier League.
One of the questions that they were discussing on Sky afterwards was, because it was funny, they gave joint man of the match, which is the first time I've ever seen that, to Foden and Salah. And I actually thought Bernardo Silva had a better game than Foden. But my question is, there's debating whether or not Man City, given they haven't got a centre forward, needed to buy Grealish, given they've got a lot of players like him in the team. What do you think about that? If they bought him for 100 mil, should they have got forward with that 100 mil?
You might well have a point there. They might as well said, you know what, it's 30 more than we want to pay, but maybe test their resolve and bid 120 for Kane. Yeah, but they obviously always have been, and probably always will be while he's there, a possession-based team. And what he can do, he can pull a trick out. What he struggled to do is, as the false nine, he struggled actually to get up with the play, because I think it was a bit alien to him. It seemed like it was almost as if they had all the rest of them in a line. And it was only when they started to break the lines that they had a little bit of joy. Yeah, I agree with you about Silva, and I mean, it's from the Ministry of State, and obviously he probably should have got sent off, shouldn't he? They have what's his name?
Milner.
Milner. Yeah, he should have got sent off. How he got away with that, I'll never know. But maybe the referee's thinking to himself, I don't know.
He's a solid pro, though, isn't he, Milner?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the
it was a bit. It was cute. What he done twice was very cute when he got done.
Yeah, but certain players seem to have a hoodoo over the refs. They can't send certain players off. It seems, or they can't, because they're model pros.
Yeah, model pros. Perceived nice guy.
Yeah.
They're sort of benign, I think is the word. He not really, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get anything more cynical than what he did, because he knew what was going on around him. He knew what was behind him, which was nothing. And if they hit him on the break, because he was more or less, I know he was out wide twice, or one in the channel, one wide, but he was more or less the last man. Yeah, so I think everyone fully concurs, including the ex-referee who writes for the papers. He should have got his marching orders. Yeah, it was cute what he done and got away with it. No wonder he went berserk, Pep.
Well, yeah, I mean,
took his jacket off and everything.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Sponsors wouldn't like that.
Bit of designer gear.
Yeah, exactly.
The old designer gear. Yeah.
You know. Shit in it as well. Them shoes. You seen his shoes?
listen.
Fucking hell. Proper Wally shoes.
Yeah, my days of sartorial elegance and snobbery are long way well behind me. Yeah, I packed up anything. I'd rather spend what I got on. Yeah.
Have a look at his ones and twos. They look like from Clark's from mid-80s or something. Right. Moving on to questions from followers. I've got one here from Rob Curtin, one of our biggest followers. And Rob, thanks a lot for reaching out on Twitter to ask a question. Really good question, as always, from Rob. He was asking a question about what's your thoughts as an ex-manager on the dichotomy or the dilemma or the choice between picking the right system to suit the players you have versus implementing your philosophy on the squad regardless. What would be your preference and style as a manager? Or is it horses for courses?
Yeah, I've never really understood the concept of philosophy.
Okay.
I'll tell you for why. Because the bottom line is you've got to get. I disagreed at the time, and I still disagree slightly now to the former coach who said it's about what happens in both penalty areas. So you've got to get both ends right. Almost dismissive of midfield, which gives an indication into how he wanted to play, as in bypassed the midfield. Well, that was one of his favourite expressions as well, horses for courses. So I don't think you can exact or implement your own philosophy on a team other than unless you're in Pep's situation and you've got state sponsored money to build a squad.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about sort of an ideal whereby you can purchase an ideal and slot that player into that personal ideal, if you like.
Yeah.
I've always said that you fundamentally you've got to be resilient, hard to beat, organised, fit, motivated. They're the three minimum prerequisites, and that's all I ever tried to do at Leyton Orient. I knew the kids I had coming through were well educated because I'd educated them. All right. So that brings me to a second point I'd like to make on it, Joe, is because sometimes at first team level, and it sounds a little bit arrogant, it sounds a little bit disparaging towards other people, but I've seen many an occasion where you've inherited players and then either the previous couple of managers or couple of coaches haven't educated them appropriately, or all the way through their career they haven't been educated appropriately. I was lucky in that respect because I was educated in a good youth system at Chelsea throughout the 70s and by good coaches. So I could basically slot into any system you wanted to play. And then the only reminder would be for not just for me, but for the people around me in terms of like how you're going to set up, whether it's going to be 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 4 at the back, and then taking your shape off of what's in front of you in the midfield. And then what you're expected to do when in possession, whether to hit the front early or bounce it off the midfield, etc. I could give you first-hand experience of players that I came across, and you just think to yourself, well, whose hands did he pass through?
Yeah.
Who coached him as a kid? Who's, you know what I mean? So there's some of that left a lot to be desired. And
would you get rid? Would you try and upskill them or upcoach them?
Fantastic point you make. Fantastic question you make. The second one, the latter rather than the former. Always give players 100% the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. It's not their fault that they've been poorly educated. So what you do, you try and, like you said, sort of upgrade them, upskill them. And coach them. So that the difficult thing, and it's the difference between managing at somewhere like I don't know, Port Vale and Leyton Orient and England is you might have to work and do the work with a player actually on the job, learn on the job. The same way as I was learning on the job, you're actually coaching the player and you're trying to teach him on the job. Right, so it's that juxtaposition between trying to get results and trying to educate players and make them better players at the same time.
Is that possible?
Well, I think that's where he's at Arsenal. I'll tell you, which is why I've tried to stick up for him, because you could see the parallels.
Yeah.
Right. You understand what I mean? Now, the exact 100% complete opposite of that is the England manager's job.
Yeah.
Whereby you've got like ready-made players, supposedly the best in the country in their position, more than one. Maybe you're talking 2 or 3 in each position. In the case of right back, you're probably talking about 3 or 4 in one position who are capable of playing on the international stage. Then all you've got to do is worry about picking the right system to suit exemplary players.
So then it's all about tactics.
And I think thus far we haven't been capable of that. Yeah. Even we've come up short. You understand? Because it's about when you get past ability and athleticism, it's about habits and it's about decision making. And we showed in the Euros that we still haven't got the right habits, and we're still making poor decisions.
And is that a historical coaching sort of trait, or is that bad management?
Yeah, a bit of both. Okay. Bit of both. But I've always had this bugbear since. I mean, I was a coach educator via the LFA for the FA since 1988, and as soon as within a year, I still maintain it. Even when I took my full badge, I still maintain it, and I still maintain to this day. You can have all your different initiatives with regards to physiology and anatomy and diets and stretching programs and ballistic stretching and sports science and red zones and dark zones and this zone and that zone and initiative for BAME coaches, etc., etc. That's fine, lovely, okay. Which might bring us nicely to another question from another listener. But the bottom line is, I've always maintained, and I still think that it needs someone to get a grip of it, whereby the syllabus is not good enough. And then you're looking at little nuances and idiosyncrasies that are only known to people that have actually played, coached and managed that could implement that. Right. So as a consequence of what I'm saying, you can improve the syllabus, whereby you get a more complete coach, which I've always maintained. The more complete the coach, the more complete the player. I mean, this, and the bottom line is, Joe, I've always said this, it's very similar to, and I could give testimony on both sides of it. I've always used the analogy, if that's what you want to call it. It's very, very similar when you get your full badge, whatever they call it now, because it's still no better than when I did it, and it's not the reinvention of the game. It's not the reinvention of the wheel of the game. It's like when you pass your driving test, and there's 3 types of coach, the same way as there are 3 types of driver. There's a good coach and a good driver. There's a diabolical coach and a diabolical driver, and there's a coach who it mystifies you how they got their badge, the same way as it mystifies me how people have been allowed near a set of ignition keys. So and the common denominator among those things is once they get qualified, everyone goes away and drives differently. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying for 1 minute there should be a uniformity other than when you pass. Not for 1 minute, because I've always said a coach's biggest asset is his imagination. One of his top 3 assets is his imagination. But once you've got that thing, I just think the subject matter to a certain point, to a certain level, is fantastic. And then after that, it's just poof, and it's open to interpretation.
So on that, just it's an interesting point. Do they, when you did your badges, and I don't know if you've got the insight into the current UEFA B Pro or whatever they are badges, do they tend to teach? Do they try and create robots like a conveyor belt of each coach has got the requisite skills, or do they try and evoke some ability for managers or of coaches to think outside the box, and so therefore do they create a conveyor belt of different coaches? If that makes sense. Do they go with uniformity, or do they go with
it's a uniformity. It's about it. Yeah, in terms of the practices, it's a uniformity, and in terms of using the coaching formula, it's a uniformity. Okay. But then, like anything else, you're at liberty to go away and work things out for yourself. and try and improve things yourself and aspire yourself and show your own imagination.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's what I think separates the the likes of let's say Terry Venables from others.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Maverick.
Now, from what I'm led to believe now is, which is a good thing to a certain degree. For a long time now, they've put the onus on the player. All this find a way, in inverted commas, like you heard from Eddie Howe on a TV program when they went behind the scenes at Bournemouth. What if the player can't find a way? You need to show him a way, preferably more than one.
Yeah, if you can't find a solution, someone needs to tell you what the solution is.
Yeah. And what they're doing, they put the onus on players, which okay, that's fine, because was it said something to do with way back when, cognitive to autonomy. Right. So so basically, where the process, and then it becomes, in a match situation, it becomes autonomous. Like coach reliant to cognitive to something along there, some sort of equation like that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what they do with soldiers, isn't it? I suppose. You know what I mean? That's, when the SS are doing the killing rooms, they're doing that every single day, and then when they go into a killing room, a real life situation, it's just fucking subconscious is taking over.
Almost, yeah. Which is what I said. That's why I drew up the analogy. You start by playing football, and then when you get into it, you feel it. Yeah.
Just want a quick question then on the other one from one of our followers on Twitter, Andy, who I think he asked you actually about the Qatar World Cup and the debate. I don't know if it's been agreed or not, that the debate around a break in the Premier League or in European football to accommodate the World Cup, which is obviously in, what is it, November?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Next November. So what's your thoughts on it? I think Andy's against the idea. Now, I guess there's an analogy. It's analogous, I should say, to Premier League rugby, where you have big tests and big tours, and the top players go out and play for the internet, even the World Cup, I think, but they carry on with the domestic league.
Yeah.
So do we go with a rugby style, or do we just close the shop down until the World Cup's over?
Yeah. When he asked the question, he actually he answered it himself. He said he thought it was ridiculous, and I fully concur. I think it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought the decision to give it to him was ridiculous, knowing that. I mean, it's good that they're trying to see. Look, Joe, for years and years and years, decades, right? But it's more prevalent now. People should never underestimate any longer the connection between sport and politics. And well, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I said at the time, first of all, it was Russia, then Qatar, when they awarded him in that order. And then there was apparently, just before they read out the announcement, if my memory serves me right, the Russian delegation were already screaming and shouting and cheering and hollering and congratulating. So they knew the result before. So that gives a clue. I just thought to myself, I'll put it a little bit more simply. I said these decisions were about fundamentally oil and gas. So the people that got their hands on the tap, if I'm the only person that's got access to drinking water, you don't really want to be upsetting me, because you go to the back of the queue when it comes to getting a glass of water. You understand? And people shouldn't make the mistake. They shouldn't make the mistake of not thinking for 1 minute that sport and politics are now inextricably linked. And I'm a bit. That's why I've been trepidatious about releasing my book, because you think to yourself, well, yet again, why should I be the one to stand up and point it out about everything, about the existing political climate, about what's gone on, what you've heard behind the scenes, what you've seen behind the scenes, the powers of deduction and detective work, the unbalanced bias now of positive discrimination, etc. It's so in answer to Andy, I fully concur. I think it's ridiculous that there should be a mid-season break to accommodate the World Cup. But then all they had to go and do is ask a cab driver. is this right or not? All they had to go and do is ask a cab driver, because you talk to people from the Middle East, who, by the way, 99.9% of them are absolutely amazing people, very respectful, very dignified, very polite, very courteous. In actual fact, it reminds me of any 1960s neighbourhood in London, or the UK for that matter. And they've got time to talk to you, and they're very, like I say, very humble, polite, courteous, and very nice. 99.9% of them. And the reason, and it's like I sussed within the first year when I came into the trade 2003. London could not survive without the presence of Arabs from right across the Middle East.
Yeah.
In terms of our economy, and in terms of the mass evacuation by office people for when they go on their holidays between May and October. Right. So when you talk to an Arab, the point I make is they go, oh, back where we're from, it's 51 degrees. Well, I don't even know what that looks like on a thermometer, never mind what it feels like. So you say, well, you know, what can that possibly feel? I just said, listen, even with air conditioning, it's unbearable. So what we do, we come to Northern Europe, and they've got places in Paris and they've got places in London, and they sort of jump between the two to pass the time. So you've got like May, June, July, August, September, October. You took 6 months of the year where it's too hot for them. You know what I mean? So that probably gives an indication why they've actually gone to that extreme of holding it in November. But I just think it's a nonsense to expect the whole of the, you know, you've got Copper America, you've got the African nations and all the rest of it, but fundamentally, world football really is European football, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yet they're asking the whole of the rest of the world to put their football calendar on hold for the sake of, that's before you factor in other stuff like human rights.
Yeah, the slave labour and all that. Yeah,
slave labour. People, it's well into the hundreds now. People who have died on site.
All right. Well, on that.
Yeah. On that happy note.
On that happy note. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I'm just, the bottom line is, I agree. I think it's a nonsense. It's not because I'm against change. It's not because anyone else is against change. I just think it's, you know. But then again, if you look at it from the playing point of view, because it's like that. It's that balance. But now, I don't know whether he's gone a little bit power crazy, Wenger, because he's talking about holding it every 2 years, the World Cup, and or whatever it is now, because of this UEFA, this thing he's got with UEFA with regards to coming up with new ideas. And yet, when he was a manager, it was all about players' welfare, diet, nutrition, physiology and anatomy, blood tests, stretching programs, ballistic stretching, etc. And then the thing from players like Keown, I eat more but I weigh less. Then things from like Parlour, George Graham just had us running up hills in Trent Park. Wenger, you don't run up hills in the game. I think you're missing the point with regards to it in the lactic acid wall, and having the mental toughness to push beyond that, which I think what George was trying to achieve, and trying to embed. And then you've got like the elongated careers of the famous 4 out of 5 whoever he plays, which would be Keown, Bold, Adams, Winterburn and Dixon, as a consequence of him implementing his regime. So now he seems to have gone the other extreme, because what you're going to have player burnout and injuries.
Yeah, and he was always a little bit reluctant to give players away for international duty, especially England. Being a Frenchman, being a patriotic Frenchman that he was. Similarly, Ferguson was the same at Man United. He didn't want to release players for England.
What cab driving's made me aware of a lot more, because in football you're in a bubble. Right, and what I've realised as a cab driver, having been up against a non-tax-paying US corporation sexual assault and rape act for 9 years, and having a 50% reduction in takings, is nothing gets in the way of big business.
Can't disagree. But
every aspect of our lives, John. Break it down.
Well, you know, we shall overcome. We shall overcome.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. I mean, either way, I'm looking forward to it. We've got another bye, so it just depends what group we're thing. What we don't want to do is be in a group where you've got to, you know, we come up against a team that's can play any system, can change the system mid-game, and streetwise.
Yeah, that's what we need to be testing ourselves against, not a fucking glorified pub team. But anyway, that's what you got beaters in front of you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right, John. I'll see you anon, either next week or the week after.
Yes, mate.
As always, please follow us. Thank you for your massive support. Like and subscribe. Your subscribers are slowly but surely going up.
Yeah,
John,
they are.
which is great,
Yeah.
and the comments
Which
are
is
great
great.
on the videos. So keep
Spread the word.
Please spread the word. Hope you enjoy it. And yeah, we shall see each other soon, John.
Yeah, we'll reconvene probably after the international break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What someone put on Twitter very quickly.
Go on.
The 5 most boring things that you know, and they put 1, international break, 2, international break, 3, international break, 4, Coldplay, 5, international break. Yeah, which are yeah. No, I've got a bit of time for Coldplay and Chris Martin. I really do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But I just thought it was quite funny. It was quite funny.
It's quite a funny one. Yeah,
I like them. Yeah, but but I think we should have just gone 1 to 5 international break. And don't get me started on the Bond film. I took my missus to see it. I just said to one of the ex-Chelsea apprentices, I'll turn pro, Waitsy. He's
Paul.
He's doing these bits and pieces there.
In Finland,
elsewhere, here, there, and everywhere. Oh, he's in Finland now. I'll see what he travels more than James Bond. Don't worry about that. Anyways, he asked me about the thing, and I said, "Wait, see, what I don't want to do when I've just done 50 quid on entry and refreshments is when I come out of a cinema, have me missus saying, what happened? That was depressing." And my son, on the journey all the way home, right, highlighting the cynicism of and strategy of big business and a franchise.
Well,
yeah.
I've got some.
Each to their own. I'm not being a killjoy. I'm not being
no one to blame but yourself, John. I'm sorry to say.
What, for going to see it?
Yeah, you should have gone and watched Many Saints in Newark. What's the matter with
you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. What, is it out already?
Yeah, it's out. I watched it last week.
Yeah.
It's really good.
What, in cinema or on TV?
Yeah, cinema.
Yeah.
Fucking quality.
Yeah.
I'll
have some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
What's that? What's that? That's the he's done it as a prequel to The Sopranos, hasn't he?
Yeah. So
I actually used his quote. I said courtesy of David Chase, who wrote The Sopranos, because I've done this breakdown on my thing of the Bond film, and then I said lastly, to coin a phrase from David Chase, who wrote The Sopranos, and it obviously came out on TV via James Gandolfini. In the end, everything turns to shit. Yeah,
that's quality, isn't it? That's superb. Yeah, it's fucking true.
And if I'll tell you now, if it costs 200 million to make, good luck getting it back. This Bond film, fuck it now.
Oh, right, okay. Well, all I'll say, I mean, I won't give anything away, obviously, in the Sopranos film, but it's about James Gandolfini's son. Obviously, plays the young Tony, and it's how Dicky Moltisanti, Christopher's dad, takes him under his wing, and he's kind of his. He's not actually his uncle, but it's sort of an uncle figure.
Yeah, the Greeks do the same. Yeah, they say he's my cousin. They're not cousins. No. They call him uncle or auntie out of respect. Yeah.
Well, all I say is interesting about Junior, and
all right.
Yeah, and very interesting, and had what he did there had quite big repercussions in The Sopranos, but it's something you never knew about. And I think
don't tell me.
More.
Don't tell me.
I'm not going to tell you. And I think there'll be more. I think there'll be more.
No spoilers. No spoilers. Yeah.
No, but there'll be more. More films, I think, because they've left it on a cliffhanger. So yeah, it's excellent. Really good. Yeah. So go and watch that this week or next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, we used to like that. We used to binge watch the Sopranos, me and the old woman. Yeah. No, I won't say anything to spoil the Bond thing for you.
All right, sweet.
But they'll die in the end.
Oh, fucking hell. All right. But even Bond. Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. Right. Okay,
I had my boy all the way home driving me mad. I said, honestly, no, that's just me done. And he's my favourite Bond. So now it's a different thing. Like the other week, they done the 10 top Bond themes on the Greatest Hits Radio. So I couldn't get anywhere now. Live and Let Die won it, although it's an epic. I've got my own favourite, which is Gladys Knight. And then Craig, only from the thing. I mean, I know it's choreographed, but I just thought he's unarmed combat, the jiu-jitsu and the Aiki-jitsu was crisp.
Oh,
and
okay.
I thought in terms of how he's like wiry and built, you know what I mean? I just thought he was more, rather than, you know, I could see Roger Moore having a bit of a derby on him, you know what I mean? And they're going, Roger Moore, this, and I said, for me, Daniel Craig, I thought Brosnan, because his humour and the tongue-in-cheek piss take, laconic, you know, I thought he was very suave and obviously very handsome. Debonair and handsome, yeah. And then Connery 3, Moore 4. I went Lazenby 5, Dalton 6.
Who's going to be, quick word, who's going to be the next Bond?
I just told you there ain't going to be one. I just told you
there ain't going to be one. There is going to be one.
No, there ain't going to be one.
Oh, how much I bet there'll be a new Bond?
How can there be a new Bond if he got fucking blown to smithereens at the end of the film?
Oh, but did you see him die?
No, you didn't. That's clever.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which is what my boy said about the cynicism of the strategy of a franchise.
Yeah.
Because they throw that one in because he's retired. He starts the film retired, right. And the new 007.
Well, you weren't going to tell us about the film.
The new 007's a young black woman.
Yeah.
She's the new 007, and she's really. Right. Like clever, and the way she plays it, and the little one.
I don't want to hear any more, John. Could you stop telling me about the film?
But she keeps saying it's just a number. It's just a number.
So no name on who's going to be the new one.
I thought the guy who would be really good would be the guy who played the lead in McMafia, but I forgot his name. Yeah, I know what you mean. McMafia. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of Tom Hiddleston, but no, it's McMafia. Yeah, I know. He's not him. He's too small, too skinny, too. Yeah. Not him. Nowhere. I couldn't see him having a row. And you look at the other guy. Who's the other geezer who done Taboo and all that? What's his name? Tom something. My daughter likes him. Hardy. Yeah, he plays every part he plays it the same. Whether it's Legend, whether it's Taboo, whether it's Peaky Blinders, he plays every part the same.
Yeah, bit you know nutty, bit sort of.
Yeah,
his voice is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, he talks like that, Treacle. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But he is actually quite posh in real life.
Yeah. He is. Yeah.
My bet would be Tom Hardy, but you're right.
Daddy has a quaint name.
Oh yeah, Daddy was a producer. But making out of McMafia. It looks fantastic in a whistle, I must say. He looks very Bond-like, and particularly in McMafia.
Yeah. So he would be Marshall.
Yeah, he looks the part.
He would be Marshall, yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I could see him Hardy having a row, you know what I mean? And slapping the villains all over the gaff. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
He plays every part the same. I mean, this thing, I don't know. The only thing where he ain't is I'm assuming is this one, this Venom, who he's in with Woody Harrelson, and the one that he did way back when he was thinging Batman, but he got away with it because he had a mask over his Bane, over his movie, so you couldn't even hear what he was saying. But no doubt it was the same. All right, Treacle.
All right, son. Where's he getting wet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Another posh boy, desperate to be a Mockney.
Yep. This is
so we've done a little bit of politics, a little bit of football, and now we've done our film review.
Yeah, it's fucking super. Was it film? They don't have film 92 or anything anymore, do they?
No, it's done. They've done it.
Yeah, it should come back. I think
they phased it out after Ross, and he handed it over to Claudia Winkleman for a little while, and then that was it. They phased it out.
Bend it off, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, John, we got to go.
All right, mate. Yeah, me too. I'm going to go work now. See if I can snare a little bit of wages.
And a pound note.
Pound note, yeah.
Hasta la ciao. See you later, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. See you. Bye,
Cheers,
guys.
cheers, cheers. Bye, bye, bye,
Cheerio.
bye, bye.